and via recording to learn a little bit more about Trout Unlimited in Colorado a few days from now, perhaps. My name is Matt Moskal. I have the honor to serve as the Colorado Council Chair alongside the rest of our executive committee. And this is so much fun for me tonight because this is that time of year where I sort of get to unabashedly brag about, oh, jeez, excuse the notifications. I get to brag about all of the wonderful things that this organization does in Colorado. Um, the agenda for this evening really kind of revolves around that. We get to showcase some accomplishments of folks throughout the state. We get to celebrate some successes, and we'll also sort of examine our operations with a bit of a critical eye as well. And I do very much look forward to being able to do this in person at the Hotel Colorado next fall. This is really awful. Excuse these. Let me try and inhibit these. Jeez. Sorry about that. Yeah, the decision to cancel Rendezvous this fall was really tough for us. Obviously, wanting to see folks in person was really, really important for just building the connectivity of the organization. So you know that challenge sort of continues as it relates to COVID, but we really look forward to getting together next fall, and you know it will be certainly healthy when that occurs. As we proceed this evening, please feel free to ask questions in the comment section as we go along, and we'll circle back and touch on those questions at the end of the evening. There's a lot to say here, and I have a limited amount of time. So it's kind of a shame that I can't touch on everything that I'd really like to, but I'd encourage you all to look at the 2021 annual report created by our very own Annie Smith. She did a spectacular job yet again. And I just wanted to sort of, well, I'd encourage you to take a look at it because there's a lot of detailed information in the review itself. But I particularly wanted to highlight Dr. Ashley Rust's contribution in her thoughtful reflection on the troublesome and Cameron Peak fires, and her analysis on how wildfires will affect Colorado's fisheries going forward. Before we dig into the meat of things, it would behoove me to thank some of the folks that really have truly played a key role in making us what we are today via their support in a variety of capacities. The first is, of course, Rare Waters and Freestone Aquatics. Brendan Stuckey and Clinton Calipaco have been unwavering supporters in a variety of capacities for a good many years, and we can't thank you guys enough for your continued support. The same can, of course, be said for Corinne and Garrison Doctor of Rep Your Water, which is one of our most cherished business partnerships. Henry Wood at Upslope Brewing and a Protect Our Rivers business partner. I don't think that we would be able to quantify the number of free craft lagers that have been consumed by Trout Unlimited members in Colorado. So we can't thank you enough for being the, shall we say, go-to social lubricant of the organization for quite some time now. Trout's Fly Shop, Factor Design Build, large donors for 21. Williams and Suncor, also big supporters of youth education programs, which I can't wait to get to discussing. Many thanks to those folks. And of course, Anglers All has played a massive role in specifically the Mineral Park Ponds Mine Reclamation Project that was spearheaded by national staffer Tanner Banks. I think we need to mute some folks. Got a little bit of background noise here. Hold on one sec, guys. Okay. So let's start this thing off with some numbers, shall we? what I really want to point to here is it goes back to the age-old saying that the power of our organization is really rooted in our grassroots members, contributing around 28,000-ish hours of just workhorse volunteer effort that sort of makes us what we are today. But I do also want to note that we also have 29 professional staff within the state. And you might look at that as it relates to the other folks or the other statewide organizations. And if I'm not incorrect on this, I believe we have the most national staff of any state in the nation. And I would contend that there's a really good reason for that. And it's a combination of things. The first is in Colorado, we have a legacy of mining, obviously, and the abandoned mines that require a great deal of care rooted in science and the folks that know how to handle those situations. The second is we have 6 lineages of native cutthroat trout. And then the third is, of course, the general water scarcity challenges that we have on the Front Range and the Colorado River more generally. But those things in taken together really are the quintessential hinge points that the Trout Unlimited mission looks to solve for. The booming population on the Front Range obviously also allows for us to draw for a significant member base, of course, in the arena of raising philanthropic capital. And simply having the boots on the ground to accomplish a lot of our projects. So those 29 staffers, I would just say, are really here for a reason. The other main point that I want to make tonight is our financial position. The generosity of our donors, our members, our business partners. It has us yet again in a very healthy financial condition. For fiscal year 21, we really have had a net zero impact on revenue. And in fact, our annual gala saw a 4% increase in net income compared to the previous year. We experienced a record-setting Colorado Gives Day, which added yet another boost to revenue. And overall individual giving was up 24% compared to 2020. So we owe a debt of gratitude to all of our individual donors and members, and just a giant, enormous thank you for your support, and also to Shannon Kendall, who of course helps that money flow and helps us really arrive where we are today. We should also give a quick thanks to our treasurer, Tom McDermott, who's been such a solid steward of CTU assets over the past fiscal year, most certainly. But as a result of that strong financial position, it's allowed us to do 3 things. The first is that we've been able to boost staff compensation, which is really important for a few reasons. The first being just simple cost of living adjustments, especially on the Front Range, but also life in an inflationary environment. But it's also really important in remaining competitive and attracting top talent to the organization. So that's the first thing that this financial condition has allowed us to achieve. The second is that we've been able to invest for CTU's future via an investment portfolio that's professionally managed by a wealth management team out of UBS. We've been fortunate enough to sort of ride the National Trout Unlimited coattails in the creation of this portfolio, very invested with a very moderate risk tolerance. And in many ways, this is sort of the next step in sophistication for the organization. Hopefully we will be investing for the rainy days that won't feel as rainy when they come. And then who knows, 50 to 100 years from now, we could have a pretty solid endowment that's been built up over time that could help the next generation of conservationists. And then the third thing that we've been able to do is we were smart enough to take Greg Hardy's advice and guidance. And when we found ourselves sort of flush with cash, Greg said, hey, why don't we turn around and sort of share the wealth and redistribute some of this capital and in support of projects that achieve the Trout Unlimited mission in Colorado. So Greg's idea was, hey, let's create a Shark Tank style pitch situation where a specific committee is responsible for analyzing really game-changing and shovel-ready projects that, if they're supported, would result in greater financial leverage and funding. And so that's exactly what we did. And fortunately, we were smart enough to take Greg's advice, and we were able to fund to the tune of $50,000 in 2021 the Pueblo Tailwaters Erosion Control Project, the Upper Ark Watershed Resiliency Plan, as well as the Gunnison or Taylor Recreation Survey, which was a 6-to-1 match with CPW involved, and the Blue River Integrated Water Management Plan, which I'm certain some of you have heard about, with the Bringing the Blue Back to Gold initiative, which has involved everyone from Richard Van Geitenbeek to Tanner Banks and so many more. So we felt that it was important to share the wealth, and hopefully that particular fund will continue into the future. It was really good for us in this past fiscal year. Over this past year, we did, however, experience the departure of Shannon Kindle and Dan O'Masta. Shannon was with us for 9 years, so she's really a tough loss for us. But we know she's following her heart, and we wish her nothing but the best in her future endeavors. And zero hard feelings whatsoever. We love her to death. Same goes for Dan O'Masta. He accepted a bit of a dream job with Great Outdoors Colorado, sort of on the other side of the fence as far as financing goes. So we're, of course, very happy for him as well, and we miss them both a lot. But we know we certainly, with Dan, we have a solid partner there at GoCo, which if there is a silver lining to be had, that's most certainly it. And with that, excuse me, I'm thrilled to welcome on board Nancy Johnston Bramlett as the Conservation Projects Coordinator. Nancy will be working with local chapters to help engage members and communities, and just develop conservation plans and projects that achieve the mission throughout the state. She also speaks Spanish, so she might be able to help overcome some of the language barriers that might keep us from partnering with certain organizations throughout the state. She's got a biology degree from the University of New Mexico, and we're certainly super confident in Nancy's ability to fill Dan's shoes, and we're very excited and honored to have her join us. It's worth a reminder here, as it relates to Trout Unlimited in Colorado, that everything that we do falls into one of these 5 categories. This is how we really focus our energy and our human capital and our financial capital, and it's just worth noting that these are the 5 buckets that we really try to focus on as far as the executive committee, and then as it relates to chapter leaders and members as well. But I'll return to this concept as it relates to priority waters toward the end of our session tonight. So let's start with youth education. I think we should start with this. In the past 5 years, the average age of a TU member went from 58 to 62. I'm stealing that from Chris Wood's State of Trout Unlimited that he delivered, I believe, last week. Certainly, while our collective wisdom may have grown over that period, I think it's important that we counterbalance and sort of offset our aging member base. And one of the best ways that we can do that is through youth education, bringing in the next generation of conservationists. And it also relates directly to the new national mission, which is, quote, to bring together diverse interests to care for and recover rivers and streams so our children can experience the joy of wild and native trout and salmon. And it really just goes to show that youth education is becoming sort of a juggernaut in our mission at the state level and the national level. And we owe all of our success within the state mostly to these two characters. Barb Luno is the chair of the Headwaters Committee and a Northeast Regional Vice President. And Jeff Elliott is, of course, our youth education coordinator and staffer. They have done such a tremendous job in growing the youth education programs within the state. It's been absolutely tremendous. One of the ways we like to talk about youth education is through this graphic, which I think is actually very appropriate, and it helps to sort of visualize the process that we're aiming for, which is essentially start these kiddos young, start them with a River Watch program, start them with a Stream Girls program, or Trout in the classroom, exposing them to biology and stream cytology, et cetera. And then theoretically, they should continue on that path and participate in youth camps, apply for TU internships while they're, if they decide to go to college, or join their Five Rivers Collegiate Club if they go to a university that has one of the clubs. And then eventually we end up with theoretically a TU member. Now, this is not a self-serving endeavor. Of course, we would hope that these kids, if they find a different way to express their love of conservation, that really is the end goal. But I really like this graphic, and we don't talk about it enough, I don't think, because it gives a very clear pathway for what we aim to do as far as the next generation of conservationists joining us. And Trout in the Classroom is a tremendous example of this, of course, by allowing students to just experience the transformation of a bunch of eggs to fry in the classroom. It's a really high impact program. It allows these young scientists and conservationists to just study firsthand watershed science, biology, aquatic ecosystems, and they all relate to watershed health. So we've had some really extremely positive feedback from several teachers about how they've integrated TIC directly into their curriculum, and word has certainly spread as a result of Jeff's hard work and the program's just general reputation. And the program's growing rapidly and really has a lot of potential to just continue on that trajectory. So 26 schools are participating this coming year, and it's not just the Denver metro area. Of course, Denver metro is a huge draw for us, but we've got tanks in the San Luis Valley, Gunnison Gorge, and along the Front Range from Pueblo to Foco. So it's been very successful and very high impact, and we expect that trajectory to continue. Stream Girls, I swear, is everyone's favorite. We've been fortunate enough to develop a relationship with the Girl Scouts of America, and last I heard, they have a sort of standing order for as much Stream Girls content as they can get, and I'm sure that we're happy to fulfill that order. But really, Stream Girls is very powerful because it's getting these young gals exposed to some STEM subjects. It's helping them develop outdoor skills, and do some real work in connecting with their local watershed. And all this just increases confidence and exposes young gals to the potential, life pathways, right? And the Gunnison Gorge Anglers chapter and the Pikes Peak chapter have both participated really heavily in Stream Girls over the past fiscal year. And I guess if your chapter hasn't, I guess the only question is why not? What's stopping you? And this has been a really powerful program. And really, I sometimes like to think that one of these gals is likely the next Dr. Ashley Russ that helps Colorado Trout Unlimited from a science perspective 30 years from now, or whatever it might be. And of course, this year COVID limited a lot of in-person gatherings, but CTU was able to pioneer some self-guided programs that actually resulted in engaging entire families. And we do have Jeff on the line tonight, so if you guys have specific questions for him and his experience, we could also circle back on that as well. Stream Keepers is another another powerful change for us as far as youth education programs. Jeff was able to partner or to build a partnership with Lincoln Hills Cares, which allowed us to reach an entirely new audience for youth programs, and just generally focused on fly fishing and stream ecology, et cetera, et cetera. And then sort of I don't know if I want to call it the culmination, but another leg to the stool of the youth education program is camp. And finally, we got to do it in person. Had 13 participants. The river conservation and fly fishing camp is a very immersive and very intense experience. And Barb likes to say that it's half stream ecology and conservation, and the other half learning outdoor skills and about fly fishing more generally. So we're thrilled that was able to actually function in person this past fiscal year. Jeff and Barb, before we move on to the next subject, I just want to thank you for making these programs what they are today. You both have had a wonderful impact on our communities throughout the state, and we're collectively forever in your debt for that. We can't thank you enough. All right, the other priority initiative for us is policy advocacy. How are we doing on time? I'm okay. Barb Sheedlow and the Bull Moose Committee, in partnership with, of course, Jen Bolton, our legislative liaison, are sort of an exemplary facet to 1TU, which is that connecting fiber that sort of transmits the voice of the individual chapter members to the state capitol and beyond, while bringing the state and national resources to our members in that sort of two-way street. The Bull Moose Committee is a wonderful example or illustration of that conduit and how it functions in reality. And I think we all deserve to take a moment to celebrate the fact that in the final days of the Trump administration, the administration denied a critical permit for the Pebble project as a result of the Army Corps of Engineers finding that the project would likely result in significant adverse effects on waters and fish, which is what we were hollering about for a good 15 years. So we can sort of bask in that success. I realize this is most certainly not a state initiative, and it is most certainly a national initiative, but we're part of that team too, so we get to celebrate it alongside everybody else. Ironically, Megan Barker of TU of Bristol Bay joined the Bull Moose Committee meeting last month and sort of provided an overview on the efforts of the last 3 years and in the fight against the Pebble mine. And on September 9th, obviously the EPA reinstated Clean Water Act protections for Bristol Bay. But Megan said that, and I don't want to get too deeply into this, but she told us to spread the message that the work is not quite done yet. So standup.tu.org is going to be your resource, along with, of course, the communications that you receive from us at the state and through the Bull Moose Committee if you do have a representative of your chapter. And if you don't, I would urge you to reach out to Barb about that one. Another big national win was the full funding of the Land and Water Conservation Fund, contained within the Great American Outdoors Act. This is taking royalties from offshore oil and natural gas drilling to permanently fund, to the tune of $900 million, conservation and recreation opportunities across the country. This was a really big deal for us, and I know that the Bull Moose Committee worked pretty hard to spread the word, and there was a lot of chatter around it. And when it finally came to fruition, it was really nice to see. But on a more local level, and I'll keep this as brief as I can, Bull Moose Committee and members statewide helped to pass ballot measure 7A that will provide about $5 million annually for the Colorado River District to invest in securing West Slope water. Those funds will be used to support watershed health, and have actually already been used to fund the Windy Gap bypass, which, if you guys aren't familiar with that, it's the reconnecting essentially of the upper Colorado River near Tabernash And that will actually result in a salmon fly, theoretically, salmon flies being able to migrate upstream far more easily. So we're pretty excited about that. Um, and in addition, the Eagle County gravel mine was a proposed mine to remove something in the arena of 225,000 tons of gravel per year near the Dotsero boat launch in Eagle County. Ben McCormick of Cutthroat Anglers and Jack Bombardier of Confluence Casting, as well as the local Eagle County um, Trout Unlimited chapter, with the support of Bull Moose, of course, were successful in swaying the planning committee to oppose the permit for the gravel pit. So the next time we float down this section of the Colorado, we have those folks to thank. But it just goes to show that the power of our organization really lies in the voices of our members. So big thanks to everyone that got behind that initiative. The other nice win that's pretty involved, so I won't go too deeply into it, was Senate Bill 181 and the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission rulemaking situation. Collectively, Colorado Trout Unlimited advocated for increased riparian protections during the public comment period, and truly had wonderful results. There were over 500 written comments that were submitted via the CTU action alert to the commission, and TU members provided expert testimony. We were able to really make our voice heard, and we achieved a buffer of 500 feet up from 300 in operations around important aquatic habitats. And we had two industry veterans, in Greg Hardy and Barb Sheedlow, that helped push this thing in a more responsible direction. And it sort of was just a nod to the moderated nature with which we proceed when it comes to opposition or support of particular legislation. Now, a focus area for us going forward, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about it in the past, is Good Samaritan legislation. We really need to keep our eye on this. It's very exciting for a lot of ways. Ty Churchwell is a national TU staffer, and he's part of the Angler Conservation Program out of the San Juans. And he's been just absolutely hammering on Good Sam legislation for as long as I can remember. He's relentless. And in a nutshell, the basic conundrum here, if you're not familiar, is that Trout Unlimited knows how to fix leaky, acid draining abandoned mines, but our hands are a bit tied due to just a massive liability risk. And Good Samaritan legislation, if we could actually take it to the next step and truly get it passed and enacted, would help alleviate that impediment and allow our scientists and our volunteers with the real know-how to get to work on cleaning up some of the states and the nation's really most pernicious mines. It's going to be an extremely high impact win for us. So keep an eye out for communications from the state, from us, and then go to tu.org/goodsam for more on this thing. We have a draft bill that's bipartisan in nature, with Senator Heinrich, a Democrat out of New Mexico, and Senator Risch, a Republican out of Idaho. And it's unlikely that it will be introduced in the very near future, but the national TU government affairs folks are handling the negotiations. They're in discussions. They're taking actions. So stay very tuned is all I have to say. But I really do think that with the brand and reputation that we have at the Capitol building within the state, and then more nationally, I think we can really help to overcome any partisan gridlock, and we can make our voices heard when the time comes. And it's just really a sort of a testament to our moderated nature. It really goes a long way. So why are we so gung-ho about passing Good Sam legislation? Oh, that photo looks terrible, but the reason is because we know what it takes when it comes to abandoned mines. We know what we're doing. Within the state, we have Jason Willis, Tanner Banks, and Lauren Duncan who are all TU national staff. They're posted here in Colorado, and they sort of provide the expertise and guidance that is required when undertaking really significant projects like this one, the Waldorf mine. This is a mine outside of Georgetown, and it's an example of a successfully completed project in partnership with the Forest Service, of course. And this site is now equipped with a passive water management system that reduces erosion, and erosion in particular of the mine waste pile, and it improves downstream water quality. And what's downstream? Well, this particular creek is Leavenworth Creek, and it's a tributary to South Clear Creek, which provides the drinking water for the town of Georgetown. So, just looking at the increase in wetland habitat there, obviously, excellent work from our TU national staffers. And we just want to do more projects like this that are just, larger in scale, larger dollar efforts. There is an appetite as far as the philanthropic capital that's out there, to really tackle some of these extremely pernicious mines that exist throughout the West, but many of them exist in Colorado. So, sort of in the same breath as water quality, native trout obviously being a pillar of Trout Unlimited in Colorado. The San Luis Valley chapter deserves all the recognition in the world for their Sand Creek reclamation project and restoration of Rio Grande cutthroat trout. That was a pretty intense project. It was pretty involved, but they pulled it off successfully, and they had the help of national staffer Kevin Terry, along sort of holding hands and providing guidance. And the area will be a stronghold theoretically and hopefully for that particular lineage of cutthroat for generations to come. Excuse me a moment. Sort of lose my voice after talking on the phone all day. However, I do tonight want to just highlight the Poudre Headwaters Greenback Reintroduction project. This is the sort of flagship project for Rocky Mountain flycasters. We're really fortunate to have Mickey McGuire involved for so long, and Dick Jeffries playing a very significant role in collaboration with Rocky Mountain National Park, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Forest Service, etc. This project is the largest greenback restoration project in Colorado history. It's pretty exciting, and the goal here is to simply remove non-native species. And I realize that I may be preaching to the choir a little bit here because many folks are very familiar with how this operation works, but it's worth repeating and articulating for folks that aren't as familiar. The goal is to simply remove non-native species like the brook trout, construct temporary fish barriers that are preventing the movement of those fish upstream. And once a particular area is confirmed to be free of non-natives, then greenbacks can be reintroduced. So biologists have actually found that, and this is very interesting to me, that the survival rate of greenback fry is 13 times higher when brook trout are removed from the stream. And yearling survival is twice as high when brookies are removed. So, excuse me. So that's a critical step in the project. And I am very excited to share that we have been approved for a $300,000 Colorado Water Plan grant in support of this project. And construction on the first fish barrier on Grand Ditch is beginning this week. So it's very exciting news. And Dick Jeffries is the local project management lead there, and our very own David Nickham is the lead staff on it. So it goes without saying that that this particular project is in very good hands. And of course, we're closely partnering with the Forest Service, and in particular, fish biologist Matt Fairchild. So very exciting project. Very much looking forward to seeing the results there. Okay, let's see here. So the Poudre Headwaters project is an enormous undertaking, and it's a testament to what we can accomplish when we really point all of our resources at one particular endeavor. So the question I think many of us might be interested in is, how do we do more of that? How do we really accomplish high impact projects within the state? And the answer may be priority waters. Priority waters is an initiative that originated from the national strategic plan, and it's essentially that national has figured out that when our collective energy is hyper focused, and we just bring the house to a particular project, that's when we really achieve great things. National has accomplished this in the Bristol Bay to defeat Pebble, as we've seen. They've done it in the Driftless region in the Midwest, where they've restored hundreds of miles of spring creeks. We're talking very large scale projects, and they're currently doing it in the Klamath along the California Oregon border, where hundreds of miles of streams are being restored, and four main stem dams will be removed in order to connect or reconnect 400 miles of habitat. So we're talking very large scale, high impact projects. And the theory is that priority waters, just helps focus our energies, right? And pilots are also underway in New Hampshire and Oregon, and so it's sort of time for us to start thinking about how we incorporate this and how we identify our priority waters in Colorado. Again, it's just a more pointed identification of where we can have the greatest number of impact by bringing in our partners, scaling up projects, really focusing our financial and human capital on some really select watersheds. Now, it's also worth saying that these projects are not, or these priority waters are not necessarily ignoring, say, one particular chapter's home waters. It's simply a prioritization and a collective agreement that when we do have a particular stronghold for a native species or a particular vulnerability, that we can all collectively get behind really attacking that problem, with the hope that we can do that repeatedly with enormous success. So that's the theory, and the way that we're going to be working through that will be via our regional vice presidents having some conversations with chapter leaders and helping identify those areas where we should focus. So this will be a very interactive process, and I'd encourage you guys just to keep the dialogue open, because this could be a very, very high impact way for us to achieve our mission. Oh, I'm doing great on time. This is really what I wanted to end on here. I'm echoing the sentiment that Chris Wood left us with in his State of Trout Unlimited address, in that one of the great values of our organization is that we can build community. And I also deeply believe that there's real value in this, especially in this day and age. Trout Unlimited in Colorado is so much more than the sum of its parts. We have such a unique mission that touches on unique resources within the state, and we have such a rich 50-year history, 50+ year history, fulfilling that mission time and time again. We have a reputation around the state for getting it done. And we have a terrific ability to build community around that mission, whether it's through our youth education programs that we mentioned, where we're getting young girls on the stream and on their way to understanding stream ecology for the first time, or maybe helping veterans experience the therapy that you can only find on a trout stream through our veteran service partnership. But it's worth remembering that Trout Unlimited in Colorado has always been the place where we can coalesce around the mission together. And in some ways, we're sort of a last bastion where we can have that really civil discourse with folks that disagree with us. And in fact, we have built our brand on that very thing, on being reasonable, on moderated, moderated messaging, and not demonizing industry, not being a litigious organization, with the exception of the Pebble Mine. That was a very valid exception. And I always like to say that we are that organization where we can have the vegan hippie from Boulder sitting right next to the red-blooded conservative hunter Republican, coalescing around the same mission. And in this day and age, I think that's really powerful. And I think we need to sing that song to anyone and everyone that we come across, because I think we can really provide that social fabric that I think we need. I think we need a lot more of that today. And I think we can just we can do that if we proceed in our mission, and if we keep love and compassion at the core of everything we do. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. So we have some time for some questions, which I'm very glad about. So I think we can open it up. Annie, are you there? You might be muted, Annie.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
People can type in chat if they have a question, or let me see if you want to unmute yourself, you can also ask a question as well.
Let them rip. Please feel free.
All right, we got one in chat. To use position on climate and climate policy.
Position on climate and climate policy. Well, I guess as it relates to our mission, it really makes me think very quickly and first at priority waters. We also do have Tom Jones here that could probably speak to more of the national agenda, but the reason I mentioned priority waters is, we're very aware that climate change, of course, after experiencing these catastrophic fires last fall, certainly is having an effect on our watersheds. And how we prepare for that is multifaceted. And one of the ways that priority waters really addresses climate change as it relates directly to watersheds is by creating those sort of strongholds for particular native cutthroat trout, for example, to be able to survive in a changing climate. Now, as it relates to policy advocacy, et cetera, I think we just have to do everything that we possibly can. But the Priority Waters Initiative, I think, is the most concrete way to actually address that head on. I don't know if that's a great answer to your question, but Tom or David, do you guys have anything to add to that?
I would say that we're all in on the issues of relating to climate change. There was a time 12 years ago where we thought that might be outside our mission, but it's not, and it really never has been. And you look at the closing of voluntary, but the closing of the Colorado River, in the last year. If you need anything bigger than that, I don't know what it would be. Dolores River Anglers did a study 6 years ago, I think it was, that says they expect to lose 12 miles of trout stream. So we're very supportive of the need to invest in climate change and do everything we can to mitigate it.
I guess I would only add as well that the sort of good news from a TU standpoint is that a lot of the kind of work that needs to be done in watersheds to build resiliency in the face of a changing climate is what we have a track record of doing. Riparian restoration, creating more stable and healthy watersheds. That's going to put our waterways give them a better fighting chance to deal with the challenges of a changing climate.
Anything else, folks? Anything top of mind? All right. Well, listen, you all know where to find us. If there's anything that comes up, definitely go to the website and you feel free to contact me directly. Hit my name, be able to send an email if you have a question. I'm happy to follow up with you offline. To the folks that are tuning in on the recorded version, same goes to you. Please keep the line of communication open. And thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thanks to staff for coordinating this meeting this evening. Again, for our financial supporters, our volunteers, our members, and our leaders throughout the state. We cannot do it if we're not doing it together. So it's really an honor to be here with you guys and to help this organization continue to succeed. So real pleasure, and thank you guys for tuning in this evening. Take care.
Thank you, Matt.